Hello and welcome to another episode of Father and Joe. I am Joe Rockey here with Father Boniface Hicks. And Father, obviously, when this episode releases, we are in the heart of Advent. And one of the things that is comparative Advent is comparative to Lent. It's called the Little Lent sometimes. But to me, and this might be a nature of the problem of society, is that it's just harder for me to get into that same mentality during Advent that I get into during Lent. Lots of reason why, but I think the two predominant ones are during Lent, fasting is such a pivotal part of my life where literally if you're not allowed to eat meat, I don't eat it all that day. And the other days I only eat once a day. And, it's constantly glued to it. And even though I know that Lent's true culmination is Easter, right before that is Good Friday, which is a giant funeral and an incredibly somber event, which you kind of need to have each end of the roller coaster for it to work. So it makes a total amount of sense. But in Easter, or in Christmas rather, it's just there's a new baby here, and you're almost like in uncle mode because I didn't go through the pregnancy. I just get to hang out now that Jesus is here, and I get to see, everyone have fun and be happy. And I know that there's something wrong about that mentality, but that's kind of being just totally blunt and transparent where I'm at. And then we throw the whole rest of society thing on top of it, which is there's also then every party in the world is scheduled around Christmas and all the presents and all that stuff that you do for the children growing up. So in a way, they seem very distant, but yet Advent is still, referred to as the small Lent. So I want to bring that out because just as with Lent, there's kind of like a renewal chance to get back in the zone, and being about the midway point of Advent, it seems like an appropriate point to have this conversation.
Yeah, I would actually never describe Advent as the Little Lent. So I'm very
Oh,
happy to debunk that concept or that phrase. I understand why people would think that. We're wearing purple. A lot of times we'll have some kind of thing that we're giving up, or there's some sense of penitence. But you described one reason that's very good. It's just a very different season. Lent is an extended preparation and entrance into the Passion. And then, thank God, the Passion comes through to the resurrection. But Advent has no penitential dimension in the sense that there is no Good Friday before the birth of Christ. So it's just looking forward. So Advent is a season of waiting. And I think I don't know, I find if people have a favorite liturgical season, they'll often say, I love Advent. And what do you love about Advent? Well, I think at the end of the day, one reason we love Advent is because it's actually the life that we're living. We're waiting. We're in a posture of waiting even now. We're waiting for the Messiah to come. And that's how Advent begins, is always with a focus on the second coming. And then we go back to remind ourselves and give ourselves hope based on the first coming. And so, but Advent is really, the penitence is really a matter of patience. It's the waiting and the stretching that comes with that. And so it's like building an appetite. It's the kind of penitence that we're doing is the sort of preparation you do for a feast, where you might fast a little bit the day before because you want to be ready to eat all of the great food the next day. But it's not a season of conversion in the same sense that Lent is, where again, Lent is really an invitation to acknowledge the suffering that we're already carrying. And if we inflict a little bit of suffering on ourselves through asceticism, it's not meant to be more than what we already carry by living lives of love. If you're actually trying, then you're suffering. For the reasons we talked about in the last episode, sin and the fallen world has its own built-in penance, and we tend to avoid it quite a bit. In Lent, we might, kind of lean our shoulder into it a little bit more and press in that direction, knowing that ultimately the redemption comes by suffering and sin being transformed into love, by love freely entering into it and sharing it with us. So having walked ourselves into a ditch and unable to get out, love shares our being in the ditch with us, and the very process of sharing it ends up lifting us out. But in Lent, we're focused on being in a ditch. in Advent, we're focused on really waiting in confidence for that great moment to occur when the Savior appears and comes to rescue us. So, yeah, very, very different season. And I would say, I should be a little bit, I think I was gentle with you, but maybe gentle with our listeners as well, and say, there has been the idea, the purification that comes in Lent, the chance to hit the reset button, as you said, something like that, the chance to start over and to turn back to the Lord. We find that experience so rich. If people love Lent, it's the fact that, like, gosh, I've been languishing and I'm at my best when I'm really like focused, and I have a hard time doing that by myself. But when we're all doing that together, it feels great to do what I should be doing all year long. And if there is a way that, having a second reset button in the year, people kind of latch on to Advent as a preparation for Christmas as another opportunity to hit the reset button. And so there has been a tradition of that in the church. So, and even to start it earlier, to have a 40-day period starting with November 11th, the feast of Saint Martinmas, to prepare for Christmas. So anyway, there has been that there, but I think Advent in its purity, and this seems to me to be a theme that in the renewal of some things at the Second Vatican Council and the introduction of the new rite of the Mass, the desire to redeem or to renew Advent as a season of waiting and kind of recover its unique character, not just a little Lent or a second Lent or something like that, but that it has its own quality of waiting. It's its own kind of preparation, its own kind of hopeful anticipation. And so, penance might be a virtue of Lent. Hope is a virtue of Advent. And penitence, self-denial might be a virtue of Lent, but patience and waiting is a virtue of Advent. In Lent, we're looking more towards the rising sun, maybe. That the sun will actually break upon us. In Advent, we're sort of waiting for just to cross midnight, so that we're the night is beginning to get a bit shorter. As the days start to get longer, December 21, 22, and then Christmas a few days later. It's like we've passed the midway point, but we're not there yet. Although Christ has come, the world doesn't know him for another 30 years. And so the redemption has begun, and in some sense has been won. And we know how it's going to happen because God has become flesh and dwelt among us, which we couldn't anticipate that he would do that. But now, having done that, everything else in some sense follows from it. For sinlessness to enter this sinful world and to redeem it, it will be subject to suffering and death, and then resurrection. And so anyway, the incarnation is the great turning point, but there's still a lot of time to come to work out what all of that means. And so we're just kind of crossing the midway point in the night in Advent, in a way that Easter is the full break of dawn upon us. And so the light and darkness motifs are a little bit different as well. So anyway, just a couple of contrasts to bring out that unique quality of Advent. And then as this episode releases, we're just getting ready to get into that novena of preparation for Christmas. Starting December 17th, the church, the Roman church, celebrates what are sometimes called the O Antiphons. It's where we get the song O Come, Emmanuel from. And there are 8 antiphons that go with the Canticle of Mary as part of evening prayer. And it's quite an ancient tradition. starting with O Sapiencia, O Wisdom, and then there's O Key of David and O Root of Jesse, and ultimately the last one on December 24th is O Emmanuel. O come, Emmanuel. And so anyway, that became the song that's been popularized, but the antiphons are there. And that special period of December 17th to December 25th is a real intensification. But again, it's different than Holy Week. Holy Week
Mhm.
has like all of this drama and suffering and violence and disappointment and betrayal and like all of this crazy intensity. Whereas this is like the building excitement of we're almost there, and we can't wait, and oh come, even that expression is this expression of desire and hope and desire build as we move towards the culmination of this beautiful season.
And what a perfect way to end this episode. I just want to put out one little point here that we make a lot on Father and Joe, which is it's not a passive event. It is something that, yes, we are waiting, and waiting by nature seems passive, but going out and making a difference, building up stronger relationships is the best thing you can do while you are waiting. And I think that never to lose sight of that as we are waiting for the birth of it. Just as we do things like baby showers and make sure everyone's going to be taken care of, the same thing is true for us to be called with our relationship with God. So I love that, Father. I thank you for clarifying all the points that you did in today's episode and giving everyone a chance to really get ready and to start the novena on the 17th. So we thank everyone for being with us, and we will be with you again next week.